The Whiskey Rebellion, also referred to as the Whiskey Insurrection, took place in Washington, Pennsylvania from 1791 to 1794 and represents one of the first acts of rebellion from within the newly formed United States. This historical point was about farmers resisting the newly formed federal government collecting taxes from whiskey and other distilled spirits. The money collected from the tax would help pay off the government's war debt. The history of whiskey making dates back to the early 1700s when Scotch-Irish and German settlers came over to western Pennsylvania with their knowledge of farming and distillation. Distilling whiskey was a crucial aspect of their farming operations. The whiskey made was easier to transport and more profitable than the grain itself because it was a valuable commodity being used for a local bartering system. Records from the 18th century show that Washington County was home to more than 600 stills.
Not wanting to lose their livelihoods, these farmers fought back by first refusing to pay the taxes, and then in 1794, by burning down a tax collector's home. Throughout the rebellion, two unique flags were used. The first being a blue flag with an eagle holding the red and white ribbon with 13 stars that represented, you guessed it, the 13 original colonies. This flag was used by troops to suppress the insurrection, as the eagles and stars represent the federal government. The second flag was designed by a Pittsburgh native man named H.M. Brackenridge, who was later arrested for sedition. It features 7 stripes and 7 stars. The 7 stars represent the counties involved. The counties are Allegheny, Westmoreland, Bedford, Fayette, Washington, Monongahela, and parts of Ohio, which was part of Virginia at the time. To go along with the rebellion, people under the cover of darkness of night construct these poles, dressed with red and white striped flags called Liberty Poles. They would place several poles on the route the federal militia traveled through in western Pennsylvania that extended all the way to east to Carlisle. Attached to these poles would be a sign with the message "Equal taxation and no excise, no asylum for traitors and cowards." After nearly 500 men marched and burned down the home of John Neville, local tax collector George Washington sent 13,000 militiamen to western Pennsylvania to end the uprising once and for all. Knowing they were outnumbered, the rebels retreated. Eventually, 20 men were caught and marched all the way to Philadelphia, including Reverend John Corley. Then on Christmas Day, in front of nearly 20,000 people, they were all pardoned by General Washington. Of the 20 men, 12 faced trial, and 2 of those 12, Philip Figger and John Mitchell, were convicted and sentenced to hang, but then later pardoned by Washington. The Whiskey Rebellion represents an important time in our democracy. Secretary of State Alexander Hamilton knew that if the uprising was not handled swiftly and completing, it would change the course of our country and all it represents.